Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more to some more Faceit League action here. Of course, we missed a little bit of time earlier on this week, but hey, we're making up to y'all. We got the double header here today, this Friday evening, and it should be two fantastic battles here tonight. And Dex, what a better way to start than the battle of the undefeated here in South America. DhillPatos taking on FA Overwatch. Two teams that, to be fair, we expect them to do very well. And now the only two undefeated teams remaining, one of these teams is going to be propelled just far into the stratosphere from a win off of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a little quick thing on Wednesday, though. Hunter, I don't know if you saw the game that we were going to cover ended up being a forfeit, so we would not have missed anything anyway here. But yeah, both these two teams come in undefeated, and we talked about this before we went on stream. We probably knew DhillPatos was going to be the best, or if not the best, one of the best teams in the South American region. Faceit Overwatch, on the other hand, we were very surprised with how they did in the Sudamericana. We really enjoyed a lot of their games. We thought they were a really good team. It was going to be interesting to see how they would perform once they got into Faceit, and so far, they have done excellently here. They have a really, really tough matchup here tonight, and I think no matter what the outcome is here tonight, we'll learn a lot about Overwatch compared to what we'll learn about DhillPatos, because me and you probably have a good understanding of how the DhillPatos teams work. Overwatch, on the other hand, yeah, we did see him in the Sudamericana, like I mentioned, but you're still trying to learn about them, especially going up against what both me and you presume to be the best team right now in South America.
Yeah, 100%. Remember, a lot of those teams that we saw in the Sudamericana are reasonably different than some that we saw here in this season of Faceit. DhillPatos is one of those examples. FA Overwatch, though, a majority of the people that we did see earlier are upon this roster, so we'll see what the situation is. We know at the very least, as you see in front of you, we are going to Nepal for our first map here, and now we have to decide the ban situation. It seems, even here in South America, the bans are usually pretty tame out the gate. We have seen a lot of people going after the Lucio early on in a lot of situations. We've been seeing like double Lucio bans in some of these games as well. Some people just cutting it down from the knees, and sometimes it's to their detriment, but more often than not, it's because they're more comfortable with either Juno or just a slower tempo in general.
Yeah, and like I've always mentioned in the past when we're into the ban phase, it's always a safe ban to ban out the Lucio. We never necessarily think it's a bad ban to make, especially in the first two maps. Just get rid of it if you want to get rid of it then, because it leaves the rest of it open. But looks like DhillPatos going to be making the first ban here. Ramatra going to be the name of the game for them here. And that kind of makes sense heading into a map like Nepal. A lot of good pressure points there, or a lot of good area where Ramatra can really excel on that poke kind of style and then get in the brawly kind of style in the Nemesis form. So Ramatra does make a lot of sense. Now, Hunter, me and you haven't necessarily casted at all. I think Vendetta is a part. It is able to be played. I don't know if they, and I didn't read it, but they did say, hey, be ready for Vendetta. I don't know if they were talking about Vendetta this week or after the little holiday and New Year break.
So I can clarify this actually, because they made an announcement regarding this. And as you and I both thought, it's a little early to have the new character in based on how we've had previous situations. But if I remember correctly, this is going to start as of next week, if I'm not mistaken. So Vendetta is going to be available December 15th. So the games that start Monday onward next week will include Vendetta. But this game right here that we have tonight will not be the case. You will not see Vendetta. If you do see Vendetta, it's because there is a glitch right now in the Faceit system where sometimes people are able to select Vendetta, but at this stage of the game, people know you're not supposed to select the character. So if you see it in the spawn, don't freak out too much. Now, if the Vendetta walks out of the spawn, you can freak out a little
completely
bit.
Different.
Yeah, completely different story. We're cooked, but but we'll get there when we get there. Hopefully, we don't have to get there at all when it comes to that. But at the time being, we're just waiting for these lineups to finalize, as both teams do have substitutions. And right now, Lugwood and Noel over on the bench right now. We have seen them sub in multiple times at the stage of the game.
We've seen this on multiple times. We've seen them also excel as starting. I mean, everyone on this DhillPatos team could realistically be a starter on any other team they want to be on here. But it's really gonna be interesting to see what we see from them. And right now, I think we're waiting on DhillPatos.
Yeah.
Because Overwatch did already make some subs and some changes there, but it looks like the lineups are set in stone. It's actually be Wed2 coming out for Noel to start off the match here for DhillPatos. especially into Nepal. I think this is a really good kind of move here for them. I believe Null's a support player.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, and I think it works out a little bit better for them. But hey, thank you for reading about the Vendetta thing. Really interesting. They're giving us Vendetta a week before they go on break.
Listen, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like, we'll see how everybody ends up adjusting to it. I imagine it's going to be a rather quick adjustment because, to be fair, it's more of an issue of them keeping things consistent than anything else. I think the fact that it comes in rather quickly means you don't have to have a situation where, oh, we need to play against each other, but, well, we can't use the new character. That becomes a problem later and later and later as you do that. But regardless, doesn't affect this game right here, so we're getting ready to send in for our first map, which is going to be Nepal. And with these bans in place, we'll see how much it's going to affect the scene. As for the time being, double hazard starting us off here, something that we don't see very often anywhere, honestly.
Well, something that we don't see very often, maybe in NA. In South America, me and you have seen a little bit more hazard here and there, but you're now seeing DhillPatos go over to something very interesting with the Bastion, which I believe, did Bastion get buffed? I think I heard people say Bastion got buffed.
I think a slight buff. Okay, it's nothing extravagant, but it's not a nerf, I can tell you that.
But right now, you see DhillPatos coming out here with very much a poke comp. They want to try to play back and allow the time for their team to get set up here. Well, you look at the other side. They want to be in your face. Yeah, that dive brawl hybrid style that Hazard gives you here for Overwatch could work out for him, but you already see Smoke just getting pelted.
Yeah, but does get hit with the cleanse, so is going to be able to stay alive for now. But the problem that you're having right now for FA Overwatch is that they're having a problem really getting in anywhere. You're going to go for Tizzy, complete separation, deletes them off of the face of the earth. Diabo, the one starting off strong though, got rid of 2 already. A little bit of fight going on behind. Diabo finishes off a 3rd. That will be patience well rewarded here for FA Overwatch.
Yeah, and it was almost a horrible start for FA Overwatch because you have to remember Smoke got almost killed. A Suzu from Gustavo was the only reason they didn't end up dying to Tizzy's accretion stun. And that one moment right there saved their entire fight. Now if you're DhillPatos, you're trying to play fast, and you find one, Smoke almost gets knocked off the map. Fearless, though, going to be able to keep themselves alive just barely.
Yeah, and here comes all that aggression, and Smoke's in a really rough situation. Going to have to back out. Point given up. Only 23 or 22% on the board, but to be fair, you're about to have your 5 back. You'll be able to fight back very quickly.
I mean, right now you already kind of see him getting set up for Smoke, trying to just buy space. They know the accretion's out here, but now Lore swapping over to the Sim here. Gonna be able to already find one, and now the just ultimate coming out there from Bert. Not gonna be able to do much as you lose 2 members for DhillPatos.
Yeah, it's a little rough, but Smoke does go down, so it becomes even more difficult to do anything here. Houdini is in the backline right now, by the way. He's looking to potentially boop somebody, but is just going to have to reach for inside of Gustavo. Super low, but stays alive.
Tizzy kind of on their own kind of space right here in a really bad spot, potentially getting dove out, but you do have Lore who can TP them out. Now you start to see Overwatch come back in. They're going to rotate to the far side of the map away from where DhillPatos are, and I like this move for them. They might just try to go straight for point, or there actually looks like they're going to rotate all the way around here, but you're running in some ultimates right now on the side of DhillPatos. That Flux from Tizzy going to probably be a big one this fight. As I mean, realistically, you could probably catch 3, potentially even the whole team here for Overwatch with how close they're playing.
Yeah, but Diabo wants to go first here. I like the aggression out the gate, but still, Smoke is incredibly low. Managing to stay alive, Tizzy still has a Flux right around the corner, but unfortunately, it's not ending well. The beat not worth being used by Houdini. We're going to see the reset come through, and you can't be mad about that. You take 2, and you get 3 here out of FA Overwatch.
Yeah, if you're Overwatch, you would almost be really considering making some swaps here, but they're going to be sticking with it. You have a beat, you're going to have a downpour, but you still look at the other side of their own beat, their own photon barrier, which could be very, very crucial in canceling out the downpour, essentially. But right now, if you're Overwatch, you're just looking for any sort of intro, but Smoke, that's a little bit too far away from your team.
Yeah, and now beat comes out online. It's not used back, 90% on the board. Everybody's getting finished off, and at this stage, it is going to be a mad dash back to the point. But at this stage, I don't think anybody can get there.
Now, the only person who could get there would be Houdini, but there's no way they get back there. Downpour going to come out. It's going to be able to trap some people, but it won't necessarily matter. What was looking to be a good start there for Overwatch kind of falls apart after one fight. DhillPatos comes right back in and plays to their tempo a little bit, maybe a little bit faster than what they kind of, or what Overwatch truly expected. from them. And again, this goes back to me and you talking about Lucio's normally been a ban me and you've seen a lot the first 2 maps, especially here in South America. Well, we didn't see Lucio here, and even with that very poke kind of playstyle, the slow poke that I like to call it with Sigma, they played fast, they played aggressively as well with it. I mean, you look at some of the stats here, Bert had the most damage in the lobby. They never died as well on Bastion, one of the slowest heroes in the game. Bert did a good job. I think Noel did a good job of really keeping them up, but at the same time, there's still a lot of space created there by Tizzy. If you're Overwatch, what are you going to do with this D.Va now? Tizzy a little bit more maneuverable. If this really plays back into DhillPatos now, they can play a little bit quicker than they could before, but still, someone has to stick with Bert.
Yeah, and Diablo just gets completely separated away, and now you can't really do anything. At the stage thing, DhillPatos are just going to kind of establish their position. Fearless down as well. This is just going to be a full-on reset. And you're eventually going to see Bert get back, but you're still seeing Tizzy move up very aggressively. Gustavo nearly goes down as, unfortunately, they're not respecting the space. But to be fair, but when they're playing, you don't have to.
They really don't. And right now, Tizzy can do whatever they want. I mean, there's really no one on the other side that's really pressuring them out. Smoke has to be that person trying to take some initiative against them, but at the same time, you have everyone right there for DhillPatos that can really just shut them down. And Bert just playing so far away from the fight allows the Bastion to find the most value they possibly can.
Yeah, you see Tizzy kind of just playing goalkeeper right now. Make sure everybody stays inside. And the keep separation of Smoke, who, by the way, does manage to get a pick out there. With Blur and Sucks both down, you should be able to see some establishment right here. Separation over on Bert, get the momentary cleanse, gets rid of Fearless, but this is all going to be a temporary relief as Tizzy's actually made the read back in extremely quickly. Smoke is a little separated, needs to get rid of Null, eventually will. Point stalled out a little while longer, but eventually you should see a flip coming through as soon as somebody gets on this point. And Smoke, close to going down, is kept out though as Tizzy is going to get DMA'd.
Finally DMA'd now, but you're seeing the point flip just right there, and that fight ended a long time ago. Tizzy eventually going to be taking out Bert. Does use the ultimate here, not going to be able to find much with it. I think their main goal was to try to keep Tizzy alive, but once they lost the mech, they understood that Tizzy was probably going for the reset. Overwatch, though, in control now and in a really good spot. You look at them up here right now, Hunter. 4 ultimates could be ready for them this fight. Tizzy, though, not that far away from a bomb. Null could have Kitsune Rush, but other than that, I mean, Lord could build up the pulse bomb. This is a fight where if you're Overwatch, you have everything in your disposal here. If you cycle through ultimates smartly, you have it for fights to come.
Kitsune Rush comes out for both sides. Remember, Houdini has the beat way before Soxos. Dudasox dying earlier. Beat comes out. Smoke not only doesn't get caught in it, but the point flips over during the process. Tizzy gets rid of two. Gustavo trying to clutch up Tizzy. Close to being hit with the DMAC, but even if so, it does have a bomb sitting by. At this moment, you're eventually going to see the flip come through. Bomb does have to be used, though, so even though the point is going to have to be given up here, it is something.
It's something. So you look at the other side. We look at the ultimates right now. They're basically even across the board. Yes, Smoke's downpour is a little bit more valuable than what maybe Lore's Pulse Bomb will be if they can find some picks with it. But, I mean, right now, if you play Overwatch, the blade from Fearless can get canceled out just by a beat and really focus you to use your entirety of the blade on 1 or 2 targets individually there, which is not what you necessarily want to do. But Overwatch now, trying to get set up, going to the scary side of the map here where there's that endless death cliff here. But they're going to have to get a touch of Smoke, tries to dive that backline.
Yep, trying to. Lore able to get rid of Smoke early on. He lost one. Fearless just got to let it go. Beat is activated. Bird's going to finish off, and at this stage of the game, this is going to be a slow but sure death here as Bert managing to finish things off. Null as well. And yeah, that's going to fall right across there. DhillPatos take the first map here. It's decent fight back over here for FA Overwatch, but the problem is it is the outpacing. It is just as you have said, Dex.
Yeah, Overwatch, when they won fights, they won them because they were able to find value pretty early on. That meant there's picks. They were able to find picks pretty early on. You go back to the fight, the first fight on the first point of the game, it really went to because, hey, Smoke was able to stay alive. They were able to rotate back out, but let DhillPatos take some space, and the counter fell right into Overwatch's trap with how they were playing that, the hazard right there, and allowed that DPS line to rotate around, get on an off angle, and find value. Second point of Village really makes it difficult to find value just because of how hard it is to actually get off angles around the point when most of the fights take place so far away from the point that it's difficult to really do anything. And even if Overwatch was trying to get off angles with their DPS line, you still had Burt right there on the Bastion, off angling from essentially the other side of the map. So you were pretty much evenly matched through and through. It was very difficult for them to really find anything. But DhillPatos, an excellent map here to get everything started.
Yeah, is exactly what you expect out of them to get the pace going right out the gate, and now it's something about being able to keep up with that pace, and for Overwatch, it's about making these adjustments, being able to keep up, and I like both of these selections. You get rid of Tizzy's Diva, you're able to kind of take away an extra weapon away, and you also go over to New Queen Tree, a map where momentum does mean a lot. And this is going to open up the door to, I think, a little more DPS in this particular situation. Obviously, it depends entirely on what DhillPatos is going to ban here. But I think this is a safe ban to get rid of the Diva here, because Tizzy is lethal on that character.
Yeah, I mean, like me and you have talked about before, especially covering DhillPatos, Tizzy might be one of the best Diva players in this region. And it's going to be very difficult to shut them down consistently throughout the night. But you want to win this map if you're Overwatch. Because, hey, if you win it, you even it up. It's a 1-1 series and becomes a best of 3. You lose it, you have to reverse sweep, which is very difficult in its own right. Almost, I would say, downright impossible against DhillPatos. But, hey, you never know. Overwatch might be able to show us a little bit of something different here. DhillPatos, though, their ban going to come in here any moment now, and already has, but we're just waiting to see it. But if you're Overwatch, you really want that DPS line, I think, to get going here early, because really, Fearless and not Quan, is it? It's Diabo. Diabo really did a lot that last map there for Overwatch. It's just that they were getting so outclassed by the pressure that DhillPatos was showing throughout that entire map. But the couple fights that Overwatch won came off the back of Diabo and Fearless finding early picks. That's what you need to do here pretty early on if you're Overwatch, or else you're going to start falling in the same kind of pattern that we saw last map.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm curious to see what the ban ends up being here. I honestly think even it might be considered early or a double-edged sword, but Sojourn is my go-to here, because I think it is a tool that worked out really well for Diabo. Diabo getting shut down would be a big linchpin to have to deal with. That's the route that I would go. I think you could still go down something in the support route just to get rid of certain options here from Overwatch, but if I wanted to get rid of something that I think was one of the strongest points of that first map for them, I think Sojourn's a really solid pick here. You could go for the Genji as well, but I think that Sojourn was a little bit more effective, and we haven't seen Diabo on anything else today so far, so it's something that we would just have to see, and for them, would have to adjust to.
Well, I think everything comes down to, will DhillPatos still play the Bastion going into this composition? Because they didn't, I don't think they played a Sojourn at all last map.
Nope.
So you could just ban it out and say, hey, we probably didn't plan to play it anyway. Get rid of maybe what might be one of the ignition stars right there for Overwatch in this next map here. So you have good options right now if you're DhillPatos. Or again, me and you talked about it there, it could just still be a Lucio ban coming out here, or another support ban. We haven't seen a support just yet. Only saw tank and DPS that first map. And like we said, me and you both believe Lucio might probably be, or might be the safest ban you can make at any point during a series. But both teams played it, so that would be the double-edged sword ban, I believe, if that is what DhillPatos does.
100%, it would be that. It would take away a definitive tool that you could definitely have somebody like Lore on pretty easily. But to be fair, if Burt and Lore are getting away with what they're getting away with now, I don't think there's much of an issue. But hey, when I'm wrong, I am happy to be wrong. It is the DPS category, but no, it's going to be the Genji that is banned out here.
I don't hate it. I really don't. Mostly because Overwatch really did show us, I think, a little bit of a mixture of Genji and Tracer throughout that first map. So you really try to force them into one thing, and you have them getting rid of the Genji. It means that you're either going to play something like Tracer, Venture, or really either Echo or potentially Reaper here. So it kind of narrows you down a little bit. And we're going to see, especially with these teams building their comps here in a little bit, what the go-to is going to be. It looks like side swapped heading into this one. But I mean, are we gonna see that Sigma come back out for DhillPatos? I mean, they look pretty good on it. WedTube is back in. Null subbed out here. I think this is something we see pretty frequently with this team, where they're constantly subbing out those two on that support line. But it might also just be for a really good reason here.
It could be for a very good reason. WedTube, very consistent as well. I have seen them formerly with a lot of members of this squad right here. But we'll see. what the case is going to be, as I imagine the Lucio Curie is in the most likely situation still. It is Diabo not going to be swapping off, and Fearless is simply going to go with Lore in the Tracer 1v1, so essentially nothing is really changing except for Fearless being forced more into a 1v1 situation, which is not a gamble by any sense of the word, because Lore is an incredibly talented Tracer, but Fearless, we haven't seen a lot of it, but to be fair, we don't know how well that 1v1 is going to go for either side until we really get into this.
Yeah, and again, the other question we were really talking about here is the deep or the hit scan. Is Burt going to stick on the Bastion, or are they going to go over to a Soj themselves here? Them sticking on the Bastion really makes it a little bit interesting to see the Genji ban, and I think it's really just because Burt might have been getting a little bit of pressure just from the deflex and the dashes in there. Again, the biggest target on the side right now for DhillPatos is Burt when they're in this tank form or turret form. Yeah, Tizzy is there, but I mean, Burt's just a little bit slower and a lot of damage can come out, but you already see Smoke getting very, very low. They need some help, and they need it bad.
And yeah, Smoke's just being separated and burnt away, and eventually Sportline is going to be forced away. Everybody's still alive momentarily. You're seeing a little bit of a chase coming through. Tizzy looking for the finish on Gustavo. Doesn't quite have it yet. This could just be a slow burn, and everybody trying to get out. Gustavo, though, is going to go down late, and you're seeing no respect being given here. They're finished off one at a time as Smoke makes the swap over to the Queen.
And I like this a little bit better right now going over to the Queen, because I just think we kind of saw last map that it was going to be difficult for you to get anything going with the Hazard. Going over now to the Queen gives you a little bit of a different angle and shows DhillPatos a little something different. And it might just be a little bit more pressure coming out as well, because Smoke could use that shout to really keep themselves alive in some situations where you already see Tizzy, Lore, and WedTube kind of breathing down their neck. Burt, though, very low here early, and that's the person pushing the cart.
Yeah, and that cart is going to get touched at the very last second for contention, but Smoke has to use that shout already. Rough situation, 1v1 over on the side. Diabo does take care of business, but Tizzy wants to try to clear this one out right here. Doesn't get anybody on the pull, but separates Goudini away from everybody, and the point is going to get capped over. Gustavo needs to stay alive.
Hunter, we talked about points getting capped very fast in the past. Nice kill there by Diabo. But less than 2 minutes, I think it's almost unheard of for that first point cap. Tizzy now, I don't know if his mouse disconnected, keyboard disconnected, or he just accept the sweet embrace of death, but it looks like DhillPatos is just going to be kind of falling back here. Burt will take one with them, but Diabo, yet again, going to be able to take him down, and whatever that was, it had to be a calculated fallback here from DhillPatos, but Burt gonna get the short end of the stick here, get the far spawns, and especially with them being your highest damage dealer on the team, not necessarily a good thing, especially because you could have someone like Fearless just go chase him down and spawn if you really want that to be the case.
100%. We'll see what Burt wants to do here, is throwing it directly down on the Smoke. Beat comes out, and you're going to see that eventually cause sustain, and they'll be able to finish off the remaining members, or at the very least force them away. So this one's going to be very quickly, but for the first time, this is Faceit Overwatch getting progress.
It took a fight. It took a fight for Faceit Overwatch to get going with this comp. I think the Queen was the right move. It really puts a lot more pressure on the Tizzy when they're making those violent leaps into the front line essentially. But now you look at DhillPatos 3 ultimates to enable both their support ultimates. That cannot be said for Faceit Overwatch if they only have the Consumer Rush, which they're using right now.
Yeah, Lore's lucky to be alive right now. Misses the pulse bomb, barely gets out of there. Song's gonna go with that beat, the level of aggression to go in, but still nobody going down. You see the separation. Unfortunately, Gustavo is forced away. He doesn't go down immediately, actually gets revenge. Tizzy eventually able to make amends there, but still it's a 4v4, but WedTube, unfortunately, I think is gonna shut down this push definitively. Smoke is still alive, does have the rampage, but I think it's worth holding on to.
Yeah, very much worth holding on to, but you know the other side, they don't have a beat, they don't have a Kitsune Rush here, so you'll really only have to worry about the Suzu. Tizzy is coming up very quickly here to another downpour, and you need to get going here fast here with Faceit Overwatch. You cannot allow, I think, DhillPatos to get these forward spawns back in their control, because that barrier is not that far away, and they're one fight from really putting it almost out of reach and taking into the area where me and you always talk about, the 50-50 fights.
Yeah. Tizzy, rough situation, but is able to sustain. Eventually going to go through. It's going to catch on to nobody, I'm pretty sure. Tizzy and Sox both end up getting hit right now. Smoke literally gets obliterated on the spot. Lore, though, does end up falling, so the spike still could go the other way if you see some sustainability, but Gustavo barely gets finished off. And with that, this bot is headed back the other way. Checkpoint will be reestablished.
You know, the tanks traded ultimates right there, and I don't think it won't get mentioned enough there, but that was such a good trade there by Tizzy because Smoke was forced to use their Rampage while the rest of their team had to peel away from it. So Smoke was left in no man's land, but Diabo finding Wetube out again. Diabo has been someone consistently throughout this series so far that has given this Overwatch team a good start in a lot of fights. Finding the first pick here leads to Overwatch getting the card back in their control, but already the forward spawn's still there, so you will see Wetube come back in very quickly with their own Kitsune rushes. They could try to play fast here and regroup here.
Yeah, Diabo unlikely to get theirs on in time right now. Diabo was in a rough situation. Diabo separated hard from the rest of the squad. Is alive momentarily, but actually Godini boops talks off here, so this is going to open up the door big time. Feet established here, not available as Burt, eventually going to be forced away a little more and more. Webtube has been taken care of. Godini right now is the star of this fight. The supports in general clutching up big time as Diabo trying to reestablish. Godini does eventually goes down, but lead will slowly slip away more and more, but it is still a long battle as Tizzy is in the back line.
Tizzy's in the back line right now, but if you're Overwatch, especially if you're just Smoke, keep pushing this barrier, trying to get forward spawns. Tizzy will die, but again, I mean, does DhillPatos engage here? I think they should try to stop it, but they're not. They're giving up forward spawns here, and because Tizzy was so deep in that backline, they just couldn't get back. But you look at DhillPatos here, about to have 4 good ultimates. Can't be said for Overwatch, but you're looking at Fearless, you're looking at Diabo here. Find an early pick. It evens the playing field pretty early on. Burt, though, with the overclock.
Yeah, but you can't have a point too easily here. That thing's going to flip, and then now you're in a situation where you have essentially given up a fight by letting this get this far away. You have to play down the straight and narrow right here where Burt, while not finding anything, is still a threat. Diabo is trying to be a threat right now with the overclock. Fearless throws out the pulse bomb as well. Nothing, but that point is going to go back the other way. Downpour activated. But he's going to be hit as Beat comes out here. They want to win this fight really badly right here. Burt able to take care of business, and after that, you're going to see that level of aggression really paying off. Because remember, they lost somebody to start that fight, and they still go in and take the win.
You know what? I understand what Smoke was trying to do there.
Yeah.
I think if they stick on barrier, they get incredibly close to taking the lead or take the lead. The fact that they got off of there for that 5-6 seconds, I think is the difference between them having to lead and them still being down a couple meters. And right now, less than 3 minutes to go. It's been back and forth here, and that's what we want to see from Overwatch this map. They've been able to show a little bit of fight back, and I think the Junk Queen comp has worked out great for them here. But you're looking for another opening pick here for either side. Both sides playing very patiently at the moment, but if you're DhillPatos, you can no longer take these 50-50 fights. Yeah, you'll be able to get a decent amount back before they get to that your progress, but you just cannot sacrifice that. Diabo, though!
Diabo has been so big in this situation. Has been great on the Sojourn all night tonight. Sox in the backline going to eventually force Diabo out there. Is getting pressured big time. Needs care sometime soon. Eventually will get it. They'll be able to reestablish. But Laura is coming back with a pulse bomb in hand. Smoke might just get soloed here to force out everything, but so far these pulse bombs have not been sticking by either side.
Rampage out. I love that rampage.
I absolutely love it. Smoke gets rid of 2. Godini able to finish off Wetube before Burt gets a little bit of revenge. Lord, he's going to stall on this point for a really long period of time, but eventually we'll come to an end. Burt going to try to run for the hills to get away. We'll be able to do so, but they have to run to try to stop this point from going over.
And you're going to see him just dive right out. They're going to be able to stop it just barely, but right now you're running out. You're going to be able to find anyone. This time you do find one, and you find them.
Yeah, that's exactly what you wanted. This the thing is, Smoke got separated from the rest of the squad while they wanted to go in. Everyone else played a little far back, which isn't the wrong choice. The wrong choice is the fact that they win. And
you're just seeing DhillPatos here just take the space back. Forward spawns now got rid of. Smoke wasn't going to get them anyway, but you're in a spot right now if you're Overwatch where you have to rush back out and do the exact same thing. You have 60 seconds left to go. You have an ultimate on your side with the beat, but you're going to have to give up some space here potentially, I think.
I mean, you're going to have to a little bit here because you can afford to give up a few meters here because no matter what, it's going to be a big uphill climb. You cannot prevent the fact that that is an inevitability, but Burt wants to try to deepen the lead a little bit more. Diabo wants to say Gate is activated here from Godini to keep things going. That means eventually, when Sox has this beat, nothing really is going to stop it, especially with Smoke down, which means you're going to have to give up a ton more room here, Dex.
I love the peel there from Tizian. I feel like they were kind of baiting out that beat there, that entire fight. They got both overclocks out, which you're fine with. But the beat, I think, was just the icing on the cake right there for DhillPatos. You were trying to bait that out, and Houdini took the bait. And now DhillPatos adding on to their lead. Hunter, at this point, it's going to be a miracle that Overwatch needs.
It is absolutely a miracle. It is an uphill battle through and through. But first things first is establishing a touch right here. It does come through first and foremost from Smoke, who is close to going down. B going to be established. You still have Kitsune Rush. You have the downpour as well. Smoke is being pushed back. Fuel is being forced away. Kitsune Rush is ready, but not available in time. As DhillPatos take this one away, while it's the definitive finish, that was a big fight back there for Faceit Overwatch. But unfortunately, it was just those little bits of separation, the slightly better ult use that just caught him.
Yeah, like I said, it was definitely DhillPatos baiting out the beat being used here. They understood that Overwatch Houdini had it. They were just trying to get that one out, because once you saw that beat come out, you saw everyone for DhillPatos just turn around and run. They understood, they got what they wanted. Even if they lost the fight, they knew that they had gotten enough time and enough out from the other side that all they had to do was make sure they got back to the barrier before Overwatch was able to start pushing it again, and it worked out perfectly for them there. But like you mentioned, Faceit Overwatch did show us a little bit more fight back there, a little bit more of an even map, really, and you need that here right now. Remember, both these teams undefeated. The last two undefeated teams here in the South American region. And if you're looking at DhillPatos, this is already their 6th game of the season.
Yeah.
They still have 1 or 2 next week. And then remember, they go on break for a little bit here. So after that break, they won't have that many games and probably are not that far, if they do win here tonight, from probably locking in a playoff spot.
Yeah, I never want to say it this early into a season, but it does feel like this is a team that's going to have a top 4 spot. That's not a stretch in the absolute slightest. I don't think it'd be a stretch either to say that Faceit Overwatch could also be in that position. Even if they do take this loss here tonight, they will have time to bounce back. But hey, it's not over yet. It is still very winnable, especially looking at that last map. As you look at the ban to get things going, Tracer is taken out, and honestly, I agree with this ban through and through. Laura has been an absolute menace to deal with throughout the day so far. I think getting rid of one of those amazing tools is nice. I think Fearless did fine in the 1v1, but I like the fact that they're just getting rid of a big DPS tool, making their lives a little bit easier.
Yeah, and especially going to a map like Saravasi, you really don't expect Bert on the Bastion to necessarily find the same amount of value that they were in the past. And I mean, you even got them off of Bastion on New Queen Street. So you're probably feeling very confident that you can take this Stoge mirror, because it really does feel like that Diablo has been able to win this a little bit more consistently.
Yeah, they have been a little bit more consistent in that manner, and that's been one of the biggest strengths so far. But we see that ban finally come through. The Lucio has been taken out. We expected this to happen at some point, and it happens here. And honestly, it might be the worst time for it to come their way right here, because the way I want to put this is that even without the Lucio, DhillPatos are still going to be able to establish their pace first if they want to go about that way. Lucio doesn't dictate whether you can or cannot. The question is what is going to come in substitution instead of that Lucio? We have seen it be the Wu Yang. We've seen people opt over for the Juno instead. There are multiple choices to go down, and it's just going to come down to a level of comfortability for both the squads.
I honestly think we could be seeing Brig Kiri.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something we normally see on this map. I think Brig is in a really good spot right now. Didn't necessarily get buffed, didn't necessarily get nerfed. You see Brig get played a decent amount. I mean, a very, very strong healer, does a decent amount of damage as well. And from what I'm looking at the stats here, neither of these teams' supports aren't afraid to get their hands dirty and start getting a lot of damage there. Because you had Socks for DhillPatos actually have more damage than Lore last map.
You did. And it's really nice to see both of these squads and what they have been able to do, because that was an extremely even map. And I mean, we'll take a look at the stats really quick, because I can actually pull them up here. And I mean, you just see it before your very eyes, the difference. But to be fair, I mean, you can just tell the difference from the eliminations in general. That doesn't look like a close game when you look at that. It just doesn't. But the fact is that it was. Because a lot of these DhillPatos fights, when they lose, it wasn't like, oh, everybody got wiped. That's what happened a lot with Fae Overwatch. With Patos, they lost like 1 or 2, and they either stopped the point from moving, or in a lot of situations, they just ran off and they got away with running off.
Just to make sure you're looking at the right round.
Oh, I'm not. Oh my god, I'm dumb. Oh my god. To be fair, don't laugh. I know you're laughing at me, but some of my points do carry over. They definitely carry over to some degrees. Right now, Tizzy is way up in terms of eliminations. The supports not nearly as much. The deaths are still a little skewed. Fearless was able to get out a lot in those situations, but that's just Tracer Gaming at the end of the day. But regardless, I still think it speaks for itself.
Yeah, I mean, again, the stats a little bit closer here on the second map. They really much are. Again, you start to look at the deaths a little bit for everyone outside that DPS line for Fae Overwatch. I mean, even Diablo only died 3 times. That was the least amount of anyone in that map. But you need to have your tank. You need to have your supports. Diablo could do so much. Same thing with Felix, could only do so much. But again, like I said, the big thing that I noticed from map 1 before going into map 2 was the fact that that DPS line for Fae Overwatch was the players that were really getting the team going. And they did that consistently enough on the second map or on New Queen Street to really make it a little bit of a closer match. And Hunter, like I said, there was a moment right there where if Overwatch goes back and watches it, Smoke not necessarily pushing the barrier, they end up losing by a lot there, but they had a chance to take the lead with their last fight. They had pushing that way. If they stayed on the cart, I think they end up taking the lead before DhillPatos necessarily has to try to fight back the other way. So minor mistakes here and there from them, stuff that's easily learnable, but are easily fixable, but a weird thing and a probably not necessarily a fun thing that they're going to notice when they go back and watch this series after the fact that they could have had the lead at some point towards the end of that map.
Yeah, this is 100% a game that you're going to look back on, because it's a game that if you want to make it to the end, if you want to win the season, you're going to have to eventually have to win this matchup. That's the case for any team that's currently fighting to be number 1 right now. But obviously, you can also apply what you learned these first couple of maps into this third one. Now, obviously, not having a Lucio is going to make things, I think, a little more difficult for Fae Overwatch, but it doesn't make things necessarily impossible. And I think we'll see what the situation is, as for the moment being, now 2 people are gone from the lineup. We'll see what that specifically means. We're missing at the moment, we're missing Diabo, and we are now missing Smoke at the moment. So I'm not sure what's quite going on there right now, but we'll find out momentarily as that clock is ticking down.
I wish I could read Portuguese.
I wish I could too. Smoke is back though, but
yeah, so we're just waiting on some players to get back here. But again, Hunter, coming into the series, I talked about it a little bit. I think it was going to be a little bit of a through point we were going to try to focus on a little bit here of learning a little bit more about.
We'll give it a second to make sure, but that would be
we'll give it a second. Yeah, that'd be very unfortunate. So just to let everyone know what's going on, because Overwatch, they couldn't get their 5th in, it did forfeit them the map. But we have seen this a lot in the past where teams will go back through, they'll contact an admin and restart this third map. But going back to what I was saying, this was a series to figure out more about this Overwatch team. And I'm pleasantly surprised, even though they're down 2-0, they've gotten better throughout this series. They've been able to shut down DhillPatos. I think that Jungle Queen comp we saw there on New Queen Street, while very much a little bit of a localized comp for that map, and maybe potentially even Saravasa, it worked. It shut down DhillPatos. It made that Hazard really have to second guess itself when it was making those leaps and just throwing up the jagged walls. I think Tizzy got better with the jagged walls as the map went on, being able to section off Smoke away from the rest of their team. But Fae Overwatch, they have presently surprised me enough this series that if or when we see this matchup again down the line, I could see it being a little bit closer. But me and you still believe that this series is gonna come back at some point for a third map. But we are gonna try to figure out here what's going on.
Yeah, I went ahead and reached out to Reddit really quick to see if I could find out a little something. We don't know many people over on the side of Fae Overwatch, unfortunately, so it's not as simple as just reaching out to their squad. I think there's two possibilities, and I think the one that comes to mind for us right away is that we have had issues with people not being able to connect to lobbies. We've seen it happen multiple times, and we've had to see lobbies be restart over and over again just to be able to get that going. So that could be the case. Obviously, we don't know for a fact because we do not speak Portuguese.
Wait,
He's
goes.
opening the game. Yeah, let's come on. All right. Yep, there's the connection. All right, we are cooking with fire, ladies and gentlemen. We are so back.
So now that we're back, hopefully, let's talk about this map a little bit more. Surabasa, you go back to something like Nepal. That's kind of what everyone would, compare it to. That was a DhillPatos map through and through. DhillPatos kind of dominated. Overwatch really only won 2 fights, but when they won, they looked dominant. Going back to Nepal. This map, you have to play a little bit quicker. Overwatch, if they come back out on that Jungle Queen, it could be something where we see them really shut down, potentially Tizzy on whatever hero they plan to play. Diva could definitely be an option here. Hazard has kind of been their go-to throughout the night, it seems. But with Tracer and Lucio being banned out, a lot of that speed is now gone from your compositions. Both teams have been playing Tracer. I think, especially if you're DhillPatos, you want to get Fearless off that Tracer, as they really did make your life almost a little bit of a living hell last map. And if you want to get rid of Lucio here, because like you kind of mentioned, it slows down the compositions. Both these teams not afraid to play it fast as hell. Both me and you kind of realize throughout the almost a year that me and you have been covering South America now, they pause. Did they pause it immediately?
So yeah, so they paused it literally immediately. I don't know who paused immediately. I think that might answer the question. All right, cool.
I have it covering my screen, so I can't see who it is.
It's Lore who was DC'd.
Okay, yeah, so it looks like DhillPatos make the ban here, or the pause here. But, I mean, what? I think they figured enough out about DhillPatos that this could be a really, really close map, much like what New Queen Street was. They just have to be able to finish. Especially some of these fights where they go back and forth, which we saw a little bit more there on New Queen Street. DhillPatos is always kind of able to sustain a little bit longer, and that's kind of the double-edged sword with playing a Jungle Queen, because other than one time through the Rampage, so I think they used Rampage 3 times, only one time did the Rampage truly find value. The 2 other times, the Rampage kind of put a Smoke at sort of disposition away from the rest of their team because they were countering out downpours or other ultimates, and Smoke would go so far ahead while the rest of their team would peel back and wait for the ultimate to go away. So that's one thing you kind of need to... I'm missing something, aren't
I? Yeah, I can't repeat what I said. Basically, can we fix the effing game servers? MVTX not the happiest, honestly. You can't blame you. You know, it happens. You know, we make the joke. Small indie company. It's life. We'll get everybody back in here. We'll get things rocking and rolling. Thankfully, we're able to just look around while we wait for Lord to get back in, which, to be fair, this right here is how it should work. When we have somebody that DCs before we're actually in, we kind of just sit here. We relax with good music, with Goudini on the ball.
Okay, let me ask you this. What do you think that Overwatch needs to do differently heading into this map? Because I'm trying to figure it out here, because I really did think they looked a lot better last map. They like actually fighting?
He's back, don't worry. I don't think so. Nah, it's just it is right now, it's Lore's personal internet. It's not the service at all. It is just his internet being not the greatest. So hopefully Lore will be back. They say he's back, so I imagine that means back in the Discord call. So we'll see momentarily what that results in. I'm gonna go away from this scene real quick, but we should be able to get things reestablished here shortly. Oh my god.
But right now, I mean, we've been talking a lot about what Overwatch needs to do heading into this final map whenever it gets started. DhillPatos, though, I mean, their composition really started to break down a little bit that last map. The Bastion finally went away, but I think that was necessarily just a play to try to get something opening up, especially if they really did believe that Overwatch was going to be sticking with the Hazard, which they did for a brief moment. Once the Hazard went away, the Bastion really lost a lot of its value. So do we see Burt come back out on the Bastion? I don't think so. I think they go over to another hit scan. Soj is there. Here we finally go. Soj is there. Cass is still available. They were hovering Freya, but I don't expect that to be the hero they actually pick here.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
So they're talking about the Torbjorn 1v1. But we'll see. You kind of talked about what I think they should be doing here. I think this is just about taking more aggression, honestly. I know it's really easy to be like, oh, just hit W first. I realize it's not as simple as that. But if you're going to be in a situation where if you're going to come out here, at least from what we see right now, and rock that Kiri Wooyoung, you have the opportunity to work with your shout. Tizzy will have the same opportunity, though. Smoke just needs to be good about managing these cooldowns, and in turn, managing their speed on top of that.
More swaps coming in and out here right now. I do like Faye Overwatch sticking with the Jungle Queen. I think it worked out best for them. I think they're gonna have to see how it works out against Tizzy's Diva. But on the other side, a very interesting support line. Moira and Wu Yang. You touched on it there for a brief moment, but it's a support line that I don't think we've seen very often, or I don't think I've seen it necessarily at all. It's definitely one that screams to me that it could be a lot of high input, both from healing and damage. So that's going to have to force potentially Faye Overwatch in spots where they cannot necessarily poke their heads out. But Rudini, I think, learned it the hard way.
Yeah, an unfortunate lesson to have to learn out the gate here is Bert pulls down, gets back up. Point will be established here from DhillPatos as Wedtube over on that Moira is a really interesting pick, though, for Fearless. It is honestly a nightmare.
Hey, not when you can shut down Null. Yeah, the Moira can damage you through your deflect, but you get rid of one support, it's going to really force that Moira to play a little bit further back.
100%. We'll see what the situation is. It is an advantage right now, but Tizzy on that Diva is going to be able to help contest this point a lot. It's Tizzy pulled back. D-Mac, Fearless is being kept away. We'll be able to make their way back right here. Gustavo gets rid of Tizzy. Point flips over at 41%. Wedtube finished off here. As for the time being, Smoke is is kind of pushing back a little bit here and able to reestablish.
Yeah, right now I like that Smoke kind of playing this front line a little bit here. Needs to fall back because, I mean, Jungle Queen can front line a little bit, but not as much as maybe what a Diva can here. But this is going to be a pretty close fight coming in here. You're going to have Gustavo have their title blast pretty early on, I think, in this fight, and they could really give that to someone like Smoke, someone like Fearless, to try to get in that backline and find something early on. Lore pushing up very far.
100% he's getting there right now. Bert a little low right now. Smoke is getting forced back more and more. He doesn't have anything to really establish. Gets clamped at the last possible second. Unfortunately, I think this fight might already be ending. The realm of too far gone. The point starting to get Slick with over 70% on the board. Smoke is going to get burnt away. Unfortunately, this should be delaying the inevitable. Lore finished off Gustavo. And we should eventually see, the full finish. But 85%, not bad, all things considered. But ults are a little wonky because they're close, but they're not quite there.
And Gustavo using that title blast there, especially on someone like Fearless, it felt like that was really supposed to be for Smoke, and Fearless just missed the precedent in it there. And that hurt them. I think if Smoke stays in that fight a little bit longer, they're able to maybe find one or two more picks and it evens out. But right now, they have to come back in very quickly here. DhillPatos has a lot of ultimates on their side, and there's not going to be continuing rush here for Faye Overwatch this fight.
Yeah, this is rough considering what you do here. If Tizzy gets D-Max, it's amazing. Unfortunately, they're not. I think you'll reestablish a fight here and try not to use any ults if possible, but eventually you're going to see no re-engagement. The Tidal Wave is used from Null, who gets taken out, and to be honest, you can't be mad. You lose the point here, but you do get an ult now.
Really big ultimate. I think Null put that on themselves. Lore will be able to find Diaba, but this is that kind of weird area where you're fighting before the point even opens up. Everyone's still going to be able to get spawned back in, and I mean, Faye Overwatch does have the direct path to it, but looks like there's kind of fall back, regroup here. But you look at both sides now.
No shot. If that kills somebody,
okay,
I'm gonna
Tizzy.
cry. Oh, Smoke.
It almost kills Smoke. It almost kills Smoke. Okay, Tizzy, do it. Interesting move. Interesting move because I have to hope that was a fat finger. But because that's such a powerful ultimate. Now that's a V-neck right there. And I mean, Tizzy in the back line. Okay.
Yeah, Tizzy just assassinated Gustavo right now, but point flip is close. Tizzy just has to stay on and establish right here. Smoke is close to going down, needs tons of care. It's going to go up momentarily. Shout comes through momentarily. Lord gets deleted. Tizzy is being burnt away one at a time here. Does get rid of Houdini, but at the end of the day, neither side can really be mad. They both use 3 ultimates, but if anything, Smoke is the happiest of all to hold on to that rampage.
Yeah, again, I'm just gonna be honest, that was such a weird fight, a weird engagement. Just because Tizzy used bomb way early, Smoke almost dies, Tizzy dives backline for really no reason. It does get 1 kill, but it doesn't necessarily help the fight out. Burt though finding Gustavo, who did have the Tidal Blast ready to go. Potentially something they could have smoked to use the Rampage and get out of jail for free. Now Heim is back up.
Ooh. And the cleanse is cleanse is not there in time. Wed Team is gonna go down. So it's currently currently a 4v3 right now, but you're gonna see Tizzy get out of dodge, take the reset because they need to live for somebody to retouch his point, and Lore is gonna drop, and Tizzy's gonna run for the hills at this point. I think they're gonna have to surrender the second point away.
Yeah, it kind of looks like that at the moment. Tizzy just gonna give it up here. No reason to really fly back in, and well, next point looks like it's going to. No, it's right there.
Yeah,
wow, fortunate here for DhillPatos, but still Gustavo has his Tidal Blast. Nolan not that far away from their own. Tizzy gonna have a bomb. Hopefully they use it a little bit better. But right now, if you're DhillPatos, you want to kind of get set up because Smoke again, kind of playing off on their own, could be easily punished here.
100% they could, but that Tidal Blast is there. It's going to throw directly onto Gustavo himself. It's trying to find some target. Unfortunately, doesn't find one. It causes some separation, but Burt says, nah, your separation doesn't mean jack. As they're going to try to be able to take over a little bit more of this space. Tizzy still has the bomb. Noel has Tidal Wave as well. Neither going to be necessary as they're going to clean this fight up outright as a reset will come through.
Yeah, the Tidal Blast from Gustavo this map necessarily haven't been the best. I'm going to say that there. That needed to go on to someone else because Gustavo was not being dove there. I think it was Gudini and Fearless that was being dove at the start of that fight. But you now look at DhillPatos, they're in a really great spot. Tidal Blast, Kitsune Rush, Bomb, Blade. Burt should be able to build to an overclock here pretty fast. They're in a really good spot here just to kind of control this point, I think, throughout. And Lore getting Tidal Blast this time around, going to be able to find Gudini. Not good.
Yeah, can't really body block Smoke. In fact, Smoke helps take care of business. Diablo able to finish things off. Rough situation right there as Wet2 gets rid of Fearless. So now Tizzy needs all the care in the world. Consider Rush comes out, and if you're Smoke, you can't walk in here. You just have to reestablish and back out.
Yeah, and especially with the Kitsune Rush right there, the fact that Faceit Overwatch backed out right there is the best thing that you could have done here. You've now rotated into a spot where you have a little bit more ultimates, a little bit more powerful ultimates, but you have to watch out for the bomb because we've already seen Tizzy not be afraid to just poke a bomb at once. Yeah. And Lore has a blade this time. As long as it doesn't get canceled out like it did the first time, it should find a little bit more value.
Yeah, but you lose Houdini out the gate. No Kitsune Rush. I mean, this fight is good as done, unfortunately. You don't have your tools ready. You have DPS ults ready, but it doesn't matter at this point. So now Fearless gets one on the way out. We head over to map point, potentially match point for that matter. I mean, all advantage is well in their hands, at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have Faceit Overwatch have a full house here. That's a good thing for them, but they're not gonna have positioning. The one point they had positioning on, which was that second one, I think worked out for them the best. And again, I think there was a couple mistakes from DhillPatos there that led to Faceit Overwatch really getting going on that second point. But you have ultimates to play with here. You can just really not afford to lose someone here early on. Lore, though, getting very low. Smoke tries to take him out, but nice disrupting shot there from Burt just to force him back.
Yeah, Smoke is out in the middle of nowhere. Here comes that blade, and no cleanse available. Gets rid of one, is hoping to get a second. Tizzy helps finish off, and Smoke, likely not long for the world, does get one on the way out. Unfortunately, it's far too late to pull this one back. But the bright side is, again, you trade one for one essentially, but Smoke dies on the way out.
Again, it's going to be a full team reset here for Overwatch. You have ultimates. Again, that's the same thing we talked about last fight, but you need to be able to find some value with them. Yeah, you got the even trade, but Lore's blade was a little bit better than what you probably were hoping for. You need to get going now. The Kitsune Rush needed to be your linchpin in that fight to really get everything going. The blade shut it down. You have a Rampage, which you have to probably use early here.
Wait, by the way,
that just gives it up an ultimate.
Yeah, it's gone. Oh my god. There could not be a worst case scenario right now. One fight remaining. Still has plenty of ultimates, but to be fair, getting a touch on this point, and honestly, it's going to be more difficult than you would imagine.
It's going to be hard, especially with how far DhillPatos are pushed up here. They're in a really good spot. Just kind of force Overwatch.
No shot.
Okay, Tizzy. Okay, right there, that's your go button. You have numbers now. You need to go fast, but DhillPatos doing a great job. Just force them back. Rampage coming out. Get try to at least get a touch here. Fearless will find two, but still someone needs touch.
Oh my god. Oh my god. One step away and it just didn't get there. Oh my god. That's a heartbreaking end. That's the best I could say. That is heartbreaking. Oh no. Tex, I know, I see it, bud. I know. What do you say to the families, man? What do you say?
Unfortunate. Unfortunate for Faceit Overwatch. Like I said, going into that map, and we had the long break to talk about, I thought Faceit Overwatch was getting a lot better throughout this entire series. This final map, though, I mean, first point looked solid, even though they lost it. Second point, it looked great. They were able to punish DhillPatos so many times that it was really starting to go their way. Then you head to that third point. I think a couple ultimates being used maybe at the worst possible time or just at the wrong times hurt them. They head over to Palace, which, again, the one thing we kept on talking about throughout the three fights was they have the ultimates. They have the ultimates. DhillPatos, though, really put them in a spot where they could not really get out of spawn without having to invest them. Yeah, the ultimates found all the value in the world there at the end. But like you said, they were 1 foot and 1 second too short. DhillPatos, again, wins this series 3-0. They now move up to 6-0 on the season. A great start for them here, especially considering how good this team has been throughout play this season. We've seen them, I think we've only seen them sweep teams. I do believe they have dropped 1 or 2 maps, if I'm correct here, but Faceit Overwatch, again, I think we learned a lot about this team. There's simple mistakes that they were making throughout this series here tonight, whether it be ult uses, whether it be positioning, whether it be just, I think a little bit comes down to Smoke playing aggressive, using ultimates to necessarily get out of other ultimates while the rest of their team rotates back. You can go look at New Queen Street a lot of the time for that. Smoke was a little bit out of position, but Faceit Overwatch, they really did impress me. Again, there's stuff that is fixable here for them. And when or if these teams do meet a little bit later on in the playoffs, I think they might have a little bit of a different result here. But DhillPatos still showing us why they are the class of the tier.
Yeah, they 100% are, and with both the schedules coming up, Patos still has a couple of challenges in front of them. But for Faceit Overwatch, I won't say this is the easiest schedule ahead, but it is games that I think are very manageable. The next 2 games are Crazy Legion and Element Heaven, 2 teams that I think are still really trying to find their footing in this division. They have Cold Hair and Tea Time, which Tea Time not having the best start here this season either, so this is a really big opportunity here to be able to, or I should say for this team to be able to bounce back to make something happen. So I'm excited for both these squads here. I think this is 100% a rematch that we could see in the future. Well, obviously, we'll have to see what the case is, because remember, it is only top 4, so those couple of losses can really hurt you, and at least the way things are right now, Dex, in terms of who is in the top 4, obviously those 2 are 100% there, but the other 2 teams currently that are 4-1 are Cosmos and, as we just call, Truck Vlog. They are both sitting at 4-1 right now. Element Heaven actually not too far behind. Element Heaven 3-2 right now. Actually stand a pretty decent chance as we speak.
And think about that. We're not mentioning names like Factor X, Garfo, Faka,
Nope.
Colaire, who I think we were really impressed with in that Sudamericana, but we're not mentioning them here yet. I think there's still a lot of chaos to happen in this region, as hey, this has been a region where we have seen a lot of chaos in the past. You can go back and look at last season with, I believe, Pumas being the number 4 seed going into playoffs, making it to the grand finals. So again, there could be chaos, especially with Vendetta coming in next week. A lot of these teams probably were prepping for that. And again, a lot of these teams have rescheduled a lot of their games. I believe there's a couple going on tomorrow as well. So even going into next week, there's going to be a little bit of shuffling of the standings here. And you're really not going to want to miss any of it.
No, you're not, because despite the fact that we're not mentioning so many teams, all these teams are still in it. Even though Garfo's far down, they're only 1-1 right now. They have not played a lot of their games. Like, you have Cold Hair and Faka, who are both 2-2 right now. If you can go and win out in the situation, getting top 4 is 100% possible. I think the most you can reasonably lose at this stage of the game is 2, maybe 3, depending on how things shake out. So at the very least right now, I think it's still wide open for pretty much anybody to get into that top 4, to take this one away. Whether or not it will be the case, you're going to have to find out in the weeks to come. Obviously, I think we're going to find out a lot more after next week. But with that being said, For the time being, we should probably close things out, Dex. This was a little bit of a quicker one than I would have hoped for, but it gives us plenty of time to relax, for plenty of y'all to go relax, eat some dinner, get some food, whatever you desire, because we still have one more match going on later tonight. We talked about Element Heaven. Well, we have their other fellow North American team, Element Garden, taking on Emote down mid. Both teams, bit of a rough start for the season. This could be an excellent bounce back for both of them, Dex, and I'm excited to see which way that game goes.
Yeah, absolutely. That comes up here in about a little bit over 2 hours. So, I mean, if you're watching from South America and you still want to be up and awake here at 11 o'clock, I believe your time, come and watch that one. That should be a really, really fun series against, I think, two teams that a little bit early in the season might really be playing to save their seasons.
Yeah, I 100% think that is the case. A win would mean a lot for both these squads here, propel them forward. It's worked for EDM in the past. We'll see if it can work once again, but we'll have that game later tonight, as you said, about 2 hours from now. For the time being, relax, get yourself some food, have yourself a good time, and if we don't see you later tonight, we'll see you in the future for some more Faceit League action. Take care.